Good morning, good afternoon. This is 5.1 day 2. We're working with different linear relationships and lines. So if we're going to continue on our notes, we're on this problem here. A furniture designer built the bookcase shown. Line A, so if you see right here, line A is parallel to line B. So these two right here are my parallel lines. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight those two lines. So this here and this one here, they're parallel. And then this line right here, that would be my transversal. All right, so if M is, or the measure of angle 2 is equal to 105. So right here, 105. Find the measure of angle 6 and 3. So the measure of angle 6, what type of angles would these two be? Well, they create this line here. So the measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 6 are supplementary. Therefore, when added together, they equal 180 degrees. So the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 6 has got to equal 180 degrees. So I know that measure 2 is 105. So 105 plus what number is equal to 180? This could also be a variable. We're just going to put it in there, and we're going to be solving for the measure of angle 6. So I'm going to be subtracting this 105 from the 180. And then the measure of angle 6 is equal to 75 degrees. Because they create this line here, this one plus this one has got to equal 105. Now if they're on a straight line, you can just show your work of 180 and subtract that 105 or that known angle, and I would be okay with that. Now, this is the justification right here. Because they're supplementary, I can add them together, equals 180, or I can just subtract the 180 minus the known angle. Okay, then the measure of angle 3, I still need to find that one. Well, that one's right here. And 105, if angle 2 is equal to 105 and angle 6 is equal to 75, what would angle 3 be? Well, these two angles right here are alternate interior angles. So the measure of angle 3 has got to be the same as this one right here. So it's got to equal 75 degrees because these are the same. Because they're alternate interior angles. Or alternate interior with angle 6. And that would be my justification. Refer to the situation above and find the measure of angle 4, justifying your answer. So here again, if I know that angle 2 is 105, so the measure of angle 2 is equal to 105, the measure of angle 4 has got to equal 105. But why? Because they're corresponding angles. That means that they're in that same relative position. So out of these 4, this one's the bottom left. Out of these 4, this one's the bottom left. Okay? Our next one. In the figure, line M is parallel. So my two parallel lines are M and N. So here and here. Now, I have two transversals. I first have this one here. Find another color. And this one here. All right, so The first thing it's asking us, it also tells us that it's perpendicular. So I see my little box here. That means that angle 8 is got to be 90 degrees. Okay, line Q is perpendicular to line P. Okay, now the measure of angle 1 is 40 degrees. So right here, this equals 40 degrees. So what is the measure of angle 7? So I'm looking for that one right here. Well, the first thing I want to look for is, I want to look not at my blue, but I want to look at my yellow and my green. So what do I know about my other angles here? Well, I know that these two would be vertical across, right? 10 and angle 1 would be supplementary because they create a straight line. I know that angle 3 and angle 1 are corresponding. Right there, that means that corresponding angles are equal. So the measure of angle 3 has got to be equal to 40 also, 40 degrees, because they are corresponding angles. Now, right here, my green line, this angle, this one right here, and this one, when added together, equals 180 degrees because it equals that straight line. So I have to add that 40 degrees plus my box, which is equal to the 50 degrees. I have to add my unknown, or I can replace it with x, right? My unknown, and it's got to equal up to 180. So I want to combine those together, which is 90 plus what equals 180. So I'm going to subtract, this isn't right. 90. Oh, why did I put 50? That's supposed to be 90, not 50. My box is equal to 90. So this is 130. So now I need to subtract that 130 from 180, and that gets me 50 degrees. How did I do that? Okay. So my unknown, or my measure of angle 7, is equal to 50 degrees. So this is 50. Did measure of angle 7. Yep, so we answered all our questions there. The last problem we're going to work on. Okay, refer to the figure at the right. Line A is parallel to B. So I'm going to do that first. This one here are parallel. Measure of angle 2 is 135 degrees. Find each angle measure. So I need to find all of them. Well, there's a few different ways that I can figure this out. I know that a straight line, actually measure 7 and measure 9. I thought it was all of them. Okay, so measure 7, first we have our two lines and we have a transversal. The reason that E is not a transversal is it only hits the one, it doesn't go through this parallel line. Same with the C. It doesn't go through both lines. It's just a ray coming out of this vertex here. Okay, so I'm going to try and forget everything else, and I'm going to try and just look at my two lines cut by my transversal. Sorry about that. Okay, so first, angle 7. They're on opposite sides, so they're alternate, and they're inside my parallel line. So interior to the measure of angle 2, so therefore it's going to be the same. Remember, alternate interior are congruent or equal. So therefore this is equal to 135 degrees. Okay, and then last, we have to figure out the measure of angle 9. Well, I am given that you can do this a few different ways. Here, if you notice from this blue to this yellow, that right there would be a vertical angle to this one right here. Well, and that means that these two, this whole blue and this whole blue, is going to be 135. And you're given this one here, so it's going to be that 135 minus the 90. And then you could figure out your last of angle 9. So 135 minus 90 is equal to 45 degrees. Well, if you want to justify it a little more, you could also look at it and say 2 plus 8. Well, and I don't really like it that way. But 2 plus 8 is equal to, these two create this straight line here. So if I have the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 8, that's got to equal 180. Well, I know that the 2 is 135, and if I add the measure of angle 8, that's going to equal 180. I subtract 135 from both sides. Okay, so the measure of angle 8 has got to be, so if I count up 45 degrees. Now, that's because they are supplementary angles. I'm not there yet. I still need to find measure of angle 9. Well, I need to do 45 plus 90 plus 10. And so the measure of angle 8 plus the measure of angle 9 plus the measure of angle 10 has got to equal, it creates a straight line, so it's going to equal 180. Well, I know measure of 8 is 45 plus the measure of 9, that's my unknown, and then 10 is that box, which equals 90. Well, 45 plus 90 is 135 plus the measure of angle 9 equals 180. So I need to subtract that 135 from both sides. So the measure of angle 9 is equal to 45 degrees. Because they are supplementary angles. So 8, 9, and 10 add up to the straight line of 180 degrees. Okay, so there's a few different ways that you can do it. You could also see that this blue line here and this blue line here, those are going to be corresponding angles, right? Corresponding angles are in the same relative position. Pretend you don't have that line in between there. So here and here, they're both corresponding. Well, that means that if angle 7 is 135, this whole thing has got to be 135, and that's where we did this. We're going to do 135 minus that known of 90, known angle of 90. That's where we got that 45 degrees. So however you want to justify it, you can. Okay, your assignment is, there we go, it's 375, 1 through 7 odd. That's an assignment, isn't it? Yes, it is. So let me get out of here. It is page 375, 3, 5, 7, 17, 18, 22. And again, double check that with Canvas.